Good morning, everyone. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Just want to point out again that at the bottom of your screen, you are welcome to use the globe to select the language that is best for you. We'll have simultaneous interpretation throughout today's conference. So with that, let's get started. So welcome to the U.S. Department of Commerce and the Department of State's virtual conference series to support women entrepreneurs in Ukraine. We're glad you are all here. My name is Kate Eisler, and I'm the co-founder of the WMarketplace. We are an international economic development business with a mission to support women entrepreneurs globally. They're delivering technical assistance, training, and consulting services. We are proud to be partnering with the U.S. Department of Commerce on this important series. Today's conversation will center on access to capital and financial resources in the digital economy. Before we get started, I have a few housekeeping notes. All attendees will remain muted throughout today's conference so that we can get smoothly through our full agenda. We're recording today's conference, so if you do not want to be a part of a recorded event, now is your opportunity to sign off, and we will send all registered users a copy of today's recording. Please use the chat button at the bottom of the screen to submit questions. We'll try and get to all of your questions at the end of the conference. With that, I would like to welcome everyone again to today's conference. We have an excellent and very full agenda. The virtual conference titled Access to Capital and Financial Resources for Success in the Digital Economy is the fourth in our series of 6 virtual conferences to support women entrepreneurs. During today's conference, we will be hearing from expert speakers and leading voices in capital investments from both government agencies and private sector. We will hear from women focused on fostering economic development and innovative programs to support and rebuild Ukraine's economy. We will also hear from women entrepreneurs and leaders who will share their experiences and their perspective on the support and resources needed in Ukraine to support growing and maintaining their business in the digital economy. Our goal for these conferences is to allow the U.S. government, the Ukraine government, and other stakeholders to hear directly from women about the most pressing challenges and barriers they face today. We want to provide policymakers in the United States and Ukraine with a better understanding of the specific market reforms needed in Ukraine to effectively support women entrepreneurs and position them for success. We are also hoping that the entrepreneurs who are speaking and who are part of the audience are inspired by one another and know that their voices are valued and heard. Again, we are glad that you are here today and hope you will attend our 2 future conferences. Today's program will Today's program will be divided into 3 sections. First, we will begin with 3 extraordinary keynote speakers. Then we will move to hear from a panel of entrepreneurs, which will include the opportunity for Q&A for those entrepreneurs. And finally, we will close with 2 additional outstanding speakers. Following the panel discussion, we will be launching a series of poll questions that we would like each of our attendees to answer. We want to hear from you. Your responses will help shape our recommendations and final report. Finally, as a reminder, you can access your preferred language at the global icon located at the bottom of the screen. Without further delay, I would like to introduce our first keynote speaker, Lisa Kaestner, Country Manager for the International Finance Corporation, IFC, Ukraine, and Moldova. In this capacity, she is responsible for the IFC's work to mobilize investment and support from the private sector in these 2 countries, while overseeing IFC's response to the war in Ukraine and the post-war recovery agenda in the region. Ms. Kaestner has taken this role at a time when the region is deeply affected by war and economic uncertainty. Despite these challenges, the private sector can play a significant role in the recovery of the region and its economic transformation. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you, Kate, and thank you, colleagues. It's a real honor to be here, and I'm very interested in the topic, so very pleased to be included today. Let me introduce first a little bit IFC and why this topic is relevant, and then a bit of context, I hope, that might help set the agenda for today, and a little bit about what IFC is trying to do within this agenda of both gender and digital finance. So the International Finance Corporation is part of the World Bank Group. We're the part that's focused on the private sector. We're the largest development financial institution globally, focused on specifically on the private sector. So for IFC, gender is one of the key priority areas, not only because we're a development bank and we think it's important socially and ethically, but also there's plenty of evidence showing the business case for involving more women into business. For IFC, the way we look at gender finance is through a couple different mechanisms. The first is around financing. So like I mentioned, we provide a lot of financing to the private sector and through banks. And I will give a couple of examples of what we're doing in Ukraine, but we try through this financing to also reach women-led businesses. But also we have quite active advisory program. So it's not only about providing financing, but also capacity. Some of that is through projects with the financial regulator. For example, I'll give a couple of examples in Ukraine where we're working with the National Bank, with businesses, but also through convening forums and discussions like the one today. So I'm again very happy to be part of this. For me, this topic is interesting. This kind of thinking about access to finance for women and the digital angle, because I think through digital platforms, whether it's digital platforms to reach markets or digital platforms to access financing, less represented groups in the economy, including women, can perhaps be reached. And I look forward to hearing what some of the other speakers have to say on that. So let me set a little bit of context. Globally, women-owned businesses, smaller businesses, SMEs, represent about 1/3 of all businesses in emerging markets. But they have a financing gap, IFC estimates, of close to $2 trillion. In addition, women are the majority of the world's unbanked population, with about 730 million adult women in emerging markets without a bank or mobile money account. In Europe and Central Asia, I think the gap may be less than in some other regions of the world, but there's still some statistics suggesting that there's a long way to go. So if you look at startups led by women, the figures I have is that of all startups in Central and Eastern Europe are led by women. The labor force participation is low across Central and Eastern Europe, and the World Bank estimates that the economy of this region, so including Ukraine, but all of Central and Eastern Europe, could actually be 20% higher if women were to participate in the labor market at the same level as men. And there is still a gender wage gap. It's 35% in Georgia, 7% in Poland, and Ukraine is somewhere in the middle between those two at about 18.6%. Now, in Ukraine, there is a positive trend. I guess every horrible situation has a silver lining, and we've all seen how women in Ukraine are really stepping up in all kinds of ways. In 2023, there was a significant increase in women's participation in entrepreneurship, 56%, so more than half of new individual entrepreneurs were founded by women. But in Ukraine, there still is a gap. The overall share of women-led businesses is 31%, so about that global average I mentioned before. In Ukraine, also access to finance lags behind that of men. So if about 81% of women in Ukraine have some kind of financial account, For men, it's 87%, so not a huge difference, but still 6 percentage points. And then on the topic of digital access in Ukraine, the data that we have is that about 77% of women use the internet compared to 82% of men. So again, not a huge difference, but still something to think about. So what does IFC do in gender? So globally, last year in our previous fiscal year, which ended in July, we achieved our highest volume of gender inclusive projects ever. So this is really a big priority area for IFC. In the Europe region, more than a third of the investment projects we financed last year had an explicit component related to gender. A couple of examples in the region, and then I'll move to Ukraine before finishing up. An interesting one in Georgia that we financed last year, which was focused on forcibly displaced people from Ukraine living in Georgia, was with Georgia Crystal, which is a large microfinance institution. And they started piloting microloans to Ukrainians who wanted to start a business or already had a business in Georgia. And the focus was on women, with a target of at least 40% of the credit portfolio should be to women-owned businesses. Now, of course, we all know that number should be at least 50%, but I guess 40% is higher than what they were getting already. So it was a stretch target. One other example is a fund. So there's an impact fund called the European Fund for Southeast Europe, which is in the Southeast Europe, which has $50 million of investment across 15 countries, with a singular focus on financing women-led businesses. So that's just a couple of examples of the sorts of things that we've done in the region. Now, moving to Ukraine, before I wrap up, it was interesting for me to think about this topic of how access to finance, particularly for SMEs, comes together with the sort of digital agenda. Because actually at IFC, we have different teams working on some of these topics. So some are focused on access to finance, others on digital and digital infrastructure. But as country manager, I'm the one who gets to connect the dots, which is always interesting. So I think actually the topic is, it's very interesting to think about them together, because one of the ways to reach groups that are not reaching something, as I mentioned at the beginning, is of course through a digital platform. And in Ukraine, we are working in both directions and doing a little bit of work to actually put the digital and the finance together. So on finance, just to give an example, actually a couple of weeks ago when I was in Kiev, we announced another risk-sharing facility where we're working with local banks who want to provide more financing to SMEs, but they're constrained in how they manage their risk. So we share that risk with them. And the one we announced a couple of weeks ago was with Raiffeisen Ukraine. And it has a particular focus on SMEs. We've previously have done a couple with OTP Bank, OTP Leasing, and Crédit Agricole for a total of $500 million in financing available to Ukrainian SMEs. I was digging for data on how much of that is going to women, and it's a good outcome of this event is I will keep digging, because I did not find enough data. And it's not that the numbers were low, but I don't know that the banks are tracking it. So I think this is a lesson learned is, what gets measured gets done. So we need to push our partner banks to look more at how much of that is reaching women-led businesses. On the digital side, we announced a couple weeks ago, together with EBRD, with whom we provide quite a bit of co-financing in Ukraine, a large telecom transaction, which is supporting the merger and capital investments of Data Group and LifeCell. And the objective behind that financing is to ensure that even through the full-scale invasion, the mobile and telephone services in Ukraine continue to develop and grow and speed up. So we're supporting also the digital side. The one program we have where we bring these two lines together, the digital and the finance, is work that we're doing together with our World Bank colleagues with the National Bank of Ukraine. which is regulatory work around how Ukraine can develop a more cashless economy. So on that, we're working on regulatory issues around digital payments and open banking, regulations around digital financial services, and how to leverage more cloud technologies, which I think is particularly relevant in a situation where in some regions of Ukraine, it's difficult to get to a bank or to be able to move around. So my hope is that by connecting some of these dots between access to finance for women and access to digital infrastructure and removing regulatory barriers, that we can contribute to some of the objectives that I think are implicit in our discussion today about how women can better access finance through digital platforms in Ukraine. So I'm really looking forward to hearing the other speakers and to learning, particularly from the panel of entrepreneurs, which looks very interesting, and to hear some of the challenges and opportunities that those entrepreneurs see on the ground. So thank you very much. I'll stop there.
Lisa, thank you so very much. You said some really critical things that I think that we will definitely follow up with and make sure that we get some visibility, not the least of which is the focus on digital payments and the connecting of financing with the digital economy. I am a firm believer that the digital economy is a game changer for women, and it's a sort of once in a lifetime game changer because we are seeing the connection and the access to business, to customers, to financing, to knowledge, to everything through the digital economy. And so we really appreciate the work that IFC is doing and the focus you have, as you said, what's measured gets done. And so bringing those things together, and the more we can raise visibility to that, all the better. So thank you so much. And we will continue this conversation. So, all right, now let's move to our next keynote speaker. We are, and I love this because Lisa referenced this, we are very honored to have Barbara Rambousek here as the Global Director of Gender and Inclusion for the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development, so EBRD. She has established the bank's approach to integrating equality of opportunity and human capital considerations into private sector investment and policy engagement. Her focus is on creating equitable access to employment skills, entrepreneurship, and finance, as well as key infrastructure services reflecting the specific needs of women, youth, aging populations, and migrants and others. Barbara has 25 years of leadership experience in design and delivery of multi-sectoral economic development programs and strategies in Central Europe, Eastern Europe, North Africa, Asia, and the United Kingdom. So welcome, Barbara.
Thank you very much, Kate. I'm absolutely delighted to be here and to join this event. So thank you very much for inviting me. We've already heard quite a lot about sort of global statistics about entrepreneurship and how important it is as an engine for the economy. The same, of course, also applies to Ukraine. In fact, if you look at micro and medium-sized enterprises, they are very much the backbone of Ukraine's economy. In fact, they comprise, I think it's 99.9% of business entities. They provide about 75% of all jobs, and they create 65% of the value added. So this is the economy that keeps Ukraine going now. And that will also ultimately redevelop, reconstruct, rebuild this country when the war ends. Women in this context play a huge role. We have seen some figures from 2023 where 50% of newly registered private enterprises were actually set up by women. And in 2024, this number so far has already gone up to about 59%. So women are driving this economy, particularly when it comes to setting up new enterprises. Many of those women are actually drawn their own personal savings to launch these ventures. So we can already clearly see that there's a huge need to provide more support and to get them the skills, the tools, the finance in order to do this at a much bigger scale. So let's look a little bit at who are these women entrepreneurs in Ukraine. Most of them, 88%, actually have at least an undergrad degree, so they are highly educated. Most of them, 90%, live in the big cities. And most of them, and I think that's actually a very good statistic, most of them set up their businesses because they see an opportunity. So it's about 74% that really want to realize their entrepreneurship ideal, their entrepreneurship ideas, whereas the other, about 23%, actually do that because of necessity. Quite a few because they have to take over a business from a partner who has left, because they're drafted into the war or have left the country, and many and the others because they don't see any other economic opportunities. And it's also important to keep a focus on those. So we have the, in a way, the opportunity ones, and then we have the necessity ones. If we look at the challenges that women entrepreneurs face in Ukraine today, it is very much about obtaining finance to start up and then grow their business. But it's also about a lack of confidence in the banking system, but also low awareness about special programs, loan programs, but also advisory programs and how to access those. So, and I think particularly for women entrepreneurs in more rural areas, there's also a huge challenge to actually hire people, both the skilled and unskilled people, because there is, as we know, a lot of movement of the population. A lot of people have left, particularly the rural areas, have moved to the bigger cities or have left the country altogether. So this focus on human capital is actually also very important in relation to growing up the business. So maybe very briefly, at EBRD, we support women entrepreneurs, we support SMEs, we invest into the real economy in Ukraine. In fact, we are the largest institutional investor in Ukraine. We've so far since February 2022 invested over 5 billion euros directly into Ukraine's real economy. And we continue to do that. We continue to have this focus. In this context, we specifically also look at human capital and particularly gender equality. So at a corporate level for EBRD, we have gender equality, and promoting gender equality is one of our top 3 strategic priorities. So this really very much permeates everything that we do. And indeed, in Ukraine, 80% of our investments have a specific focus on protecting the livelihoods and jobs, including specifically also for women. So how do we do that? If we look particularly at the SME sector and access to finance, we have women in business programs, which we have established now for over 10 years across 24 countries. And we've actually invested 1 billion euros already in over about 50 partner financial institutions in order to enable women to access loans and to access finance. These women in business programs, in a way, try to shift the market. They try to not just put more finance into the market dedicated to women entrepreneurs, but actually change the way that the market works, that change the way that the market recognizes women as a viable and important market segment. And so this is about building the capacity of our partner financial institutions to recognize women as a market segment, to then build products and services that are tailor-made for that particular market segment, as it would be for many other market segments. And to then actually also add finance through first loss risk covers, for example, to really make the finance flow into the market. That is then complemented with also building capacity on the part of the SMEs, for them to actually know, to have the right skills to know how to invest, how to access finance, how to build business plans and a market proposition that is viable. So we in a way look at both the supply and the demand. And we've actually seen tangible impact of these kind of activities. Maybe not yet in Ukraine, but in Turkey, we've seen 23% growth in women-led MSMEs. We've also seen increases in profit. We've seen job creation going up, and also productivity gains, not just for the SMEs themselves, but for the entire economy. So it's really important that it's that shift of the market and changing the way that the market operates in order to really give women a very lasting access into the market and the stake in this market. And for that, what we do is we have our women in business programs, but then we also look at policy reforms. So we're working with the Women Entrepreneurship Finance Initiative, for example, to actually build capacity of central banks to collect sex disaggregated data, to better understand where are the bottlenecks if you look at the regulatory system for women to set up and grow their businesses, and how can those regulatory barriers be removed for women to do that. So in a way, that this focus on supporting women entrepreneurs, including in Ukraine, including in circumstances that are very, very challenging, where women had to maybe relocate their businesses or where they lost access to their supply chains or access to their markets, is something that we have been doing really from February 2022 onwards. So if we look at digitalization, of course, plays a huge role in this context, because it is digital technologies that can actually open up markets, that can open up access to supply chains, that can open up access to much more remote markets, that can allow women entrepreneurs, for example, to operate from all sorts of different parts within Ukraine and actually even from outside of Ukraine. So we also have some of our clients who've actually relocated to, say, Poland or somewhere else, and who are still running their businesses in Ukraine, producing and operating in Ukraine. So digital technologies are a big driver, I think, now of Ukraine's economy, but also of course going forward. So if we look at Ukraine, the ICT sector overall has actually been flourishing already before the war, but has taken on a new sort of importance within the economy since the start of the war. And the government and policymakers clearly have focused on that very strongly. There are several national strategies that specifically focus on this digital transformation of the economy and supporting not just SMEs, but the entire economy in this context. So if we look at SMEs specifically, there is, of course, then a need to build capacity, again, on all parts of this ecosystem that I described earlier. It's the financial institutions to use digital technologies in order to make finance and also the non-financial services that they offer available to SMEs, women-led SMEs included, in a better way. Then capacity building also to the women entrepreneurs themselves, for them to better understand how to access, how to use those digital technologies, also how to invest in applying digital technologies within their own businesses, to acquire the know-how they need to for that, and also the finance, which I think is essential. So bringing together this focus on opening up finance and combining that with building capacity, both in relation to recognizing women as an important market segment, but also recognizing the leverage, the catalytic effect that digital technologies can have in this context, is something that we do with our clients directly, partner financial institutions, the SMEs, and then also the policymakers. And going forward, we will very much continue to do that as the war situation changes and as hopefully the country moves into more of a recovery effort, where this will be particularly important as well. So maybe I'll leave it at that, but I'm also very much looking forward to the conversation and the discussion that is to follow. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Barbara. So much of what you said is so critical to us, both from the work that you and EBRD are doing from a policy side, but also on the ground. And I think connecting those two things is really one of our key objectives for certainly this discussion and to promote that in terms of, helping these women to build capacity and build awareness of the tools that are available to them, and voice, how best that they can access them and really make that move in the digital economy, because we've seen for many years that women-led businesses are such an economic engine. And we see the return in their communities, in their families, in health and economics all across the board. So appreciate you and the work that EBRD is doing. So thank you so much for joining the conversation today. So next, I want to move to our next keynote speaker, which is an amazing woman that I've had the opportunity to get to know a little bit. So Yana, Chapailo, Director of the Veterans Center, Ukrainian Defense Leadership Center at the National Kyiv Mohai Academy. She established the center in May of 2024, and to date has served more than 70 veterans, both men and women. They've received specific educational services. Yana has extensive experience in program management and international cooperations. Her focus has always been on education as a pivotal investment of empowering people and ensuring their success and enabling their skills for independence. So Yana, welcome. Glad to have you here today.
Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, my fellow speakers. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here, obviously, on this as I'm joking, sunny day, because if you've ever been to Ukraine in this time of the year, you can rarely see sun anywhere. But so today as well, we have a very typical Ukrainian sunny day. If you don't mind, I'll share a presentation, and maybe you'll, be able to see something. Okay, and something that we got used to saying during COVID. Can you see my screen?
Yes, you're great.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So yeah, as Kate mentioned, and thank you for the introduction, my name is Yana Chapailo. I'm here in Kyiv, Ukraine. I'm the director of the Veterans Resource Center at the National University of Kyiv-Mohyla Academy. And we are called Ukrainian Defenders Leadership Center. So even though in our name we do not specifically have women as our target audience, we are working with veterans who served in the military, who are now protecting our country from the full-scale Russian invasion. We do work with women, and as a university, as a public higher education institution, we also feel our responsibility in part. Sorry. I think that's not on my side. I think that, yeah, someone unmuted. Yeah, about the center, our center is an educational and a research hub. Our work is dedicated to fostering a society where veterans, both men and women, have a pathway for their professional growth and can take an active role in shaping the country's future. And just today, a couple of hours ago, we actually had a roundtable at Kyiv-Mohyla Academy that was devoted to the role of private and state initiatives to engage veterans into the Ukraine's economy. So as my colleagues previously mentioned, right now, women in Ukraine are, in charge of so much more than, and are expected to be engaged in so much more that maybe a couple of years ago. And I'm a proud feminist. I'm not afraid to say that out loud, and we are recorded here. But I do know that, my colleagues feel a lot of, responsibility when joining the army, which is a very specific, and very special role for them, but also working in all areas of our economy, including digital economy. So we want to inspire our veterans to take on leadership roles, including women who served in the military, to be proactive. We do not expect them, or we do not demand them to be proactive, because they served the country. They've done what they were kind of expected, or not even expected, to do. But we also see that for the veterans, for those, and I'm talking not about those people who chose military career as a career, because we have those as well. But in Ukraine, as you know, a lot of civilians joined the army in 2022. So now we are talking about those civilians who changed their role and became military servicemen and women, now are coming back to the civilian life, and we want to empower them to continue take charge in their civilian activities. I would also add here that a lot of veterans, especially women, and also are interested in starting their own businesses. Entrepreneurship is something that is oftentimes discussed. And in terms of Ukrainian infrastructure being destroyed, and also a lot of infrastructure that was not destroyed also needs an update, because we are talking about, we are not ignoring the fact that Ukraine has been working towards updating our infrastructure for a very long time. So now we're just we have two jobs to do. And women are demonstrating their, proactive engagement in the society. So this is, I hope you can see this slide. Yeah, this is my team you're looking at. So we are, we are 5 women who are working on this topic. And I'm proud to be surrounded by this powerful women. We often have a joke that in Ukraine, since we don't have, because of the demographic situation and then the war, we don't have enough people. So all Ukrainians now have to carry on 2 jobs. Well, these ladies are carrying on 2 and even more jobs at once. And I'm just proud to share that slide with you. And trying to bring back our conversation to the digital economy and to the roundtable that I've just mentioned, because it's, on the top of my head. So we had a very productive discussion today with representatives of, women and men, veterans, and representatives of small businesses and mid-scale level businesses, trying to discuss and find ways on how to engage more people into the business field, how to encourage them to start their own businesses, but also how to provide them with career guidance. We as in my introduction, Kate mentioned that I'm a strong believer in education, and I do think that there are a lot of problems that can be solved with education. I'm not only talking about higher education, I'm talking about vocational education or post-degree or non-degree education. I'm talking about the workforce development and all the stuff that is right now crucial for Ukraine, and specifically for Ukrainian women, who for some of them were not able to get the proper education. Some of them were never expected to take charge, to be breadwinners. Right now, they are facing a lot of challenges in that area. We are also talking about women who are, caretakers, who take care of their husbands or of their elderly parents or of their kids, or for everybody for that matter, because that's how we do things. We care about people. We cannot ignore that part of ourselves. And this is just something that is there. So we at the Veterans Center, we do believe that to support women's engagement into business area, into the labor market, including the digital labor market, educational opportunities can help them a lot and empower them. It also builds a very strong community. And there's a couple of photos here. So we have one of the programs that we launched is the Leadership and Resilience program for the veterans. And the goal of the program is to provide support and professional empowerment to those who, as I've mentioned, wish to work in the field of public policy, for example, community building, other leadership initiatives for the reconstruction. And yes, I'm answering my own question that was just in my head. We've been thinking about the ways to find the best way to adopt this program, to offer this program. We had conversations about offering maybe separate programs, maybe programs for men and for women, separate groups. But then we realized that the network that is created here is one of the most, I would say, crucial outcomes that we receive from the program. We have proactive men and women who are looking for the ways, to find their path, and we're seeing how the network that they work with empowers them to do that. Moving on, there are several programs for the career guidance and career counseling for war veterans that we offer. They are also gender neutral. We offer them for both men and women, and we also see how it builds these strong connections, I would say, and also understanding for that. I would emphasize that for those who maybe know a bit more about the Ukrainian military, unfortunately, we have still prejudice towards women who serve in the army. I would say the proactive part of the population understood long ago that if you want to serve, it doesn't matter whoever you want. This is one of the most prestigious, I would say, professions right now. But still, we do have that, and I'm not ignoring that. And bringing people together in one room, and ensuring that they can communicate with each other, work with each other, it just creates miracles. I don't want to give you too much of the information here, and I know that my time is limited, but I just wanted to add two points here. We are working with on several workshops. We assist the State Employment Service on providing career guidance to veterans who are choosing their new career path. And here, as you can see on the picture, most of the participants are women. They oftentimes find it difficult to communicate with veterans who are, mostly men. Unfortunately, with the war and with the power grid and with the security issues, they are not that flexible in their travel as they used to be. So I would say that even though we are talking about the digital economy here, but I would say that a lot of challenges that can be answered in Ukraine right now are through the online offering of online activities and engaging people. And I'm not saying that meeting offline is not important. Obviously, communication, is everything. And I've witnessed, for example, when people from Zaporizhia joined our workshop in Kyiv, and they were extremely excited, and they were crying and thanking us, because apparently the last time they were out of their city, Zaporizhia, was before COVID, because COVID, and that was 5 years ago. So COVID hit, and then the full-scale war started, and Zaporizhia Oblast, 70% of Zaporizhia Oblast is occupied. So they are not able to travel that much. And apparently, with everything that is happening right now, they are expected to provide the best services they can, but they were limited in their professional development opportunities, learning opportunities that they will urgently need. So I'm just, pointing that out because I know that we are strong believers in the digital economy. We are looking for the ways to engage people in it, but also, seeing each other from time to time with our full bodies, not just our tops of our heads in the camera, would definitely, encourage people to work together. And at the end of this discussion, or rather me talking, it's not rather a discussion, I'm looking forward to the discussion later. I would say that one of the things that we think is important to include in all the planning that we or the Ministry of Economy or any institution for that matter in Ukraine is a trauma-informed anything, trauma-informed communication, trauma-informed guidance, trauma-informed work and policies. This is something that we find very helpful for businesses who hire veterans, for businesses who hire women, to be aware of our own journeys for that matter. And when we are talking about trauma-informed, we do not mean only military experience. All of us here, I'm sure, had their own stories and had their own, experiences and had their own traumas that they went through or their relatives went through. And we, with the proper instruments and proper education, understanding how to, engage in situations and make sure that people are comfortable, and you as a person are comfortable in working with others. This is just something that we are working on, and I just wanted to share that. So maybe, when planning next activities, when working on something, you just think about trauma-informed ways of communicating and engaging your colleagues, your peers. So yeah, we are building a community. We are smiling here. We are trying our best. These men and women are amazing. The women who served in the army, who are now coming back, who are now in the process of finding their career, of engaging into the economy, of establishing their plans, next steps. I would say it's a challenging, but also very rewarding thing that we are trying to, as a university and as an institution, but also as a separate entity within the higher education institution, we are trying to offer and do what we can, because there's three roles, I think, three major roles for any university in the world. It's educate, it's research, obviously, but it's also service. And this is the time for us in Ukraine to take charge in the service area for those who need our assistance and our advice. On this note, I'm thanking you, and I will be happy to answer any questions later if you have any. Thank you. And thank you. It's delighted to be here.
Yana, thank you so much, and thank you for the important work that you are doing for the veterans and their families. That's much appreciated. So I would also like to thank our two other keynote speakers for this section of the agenda. Wonderful to start this conversation. And as I say, start the conversation because we're excited now to continue this. And so we want to turn now to our panel. So our panel today is moderated by my co-founder and other half, Susan Gates, and she's the COO of the WMarketplace. And she has some amazing women entrepreneurs with her. And I want to remind you that following the panel discussion, we have time for questions for our audience. So please put those in the chat at the bottom of your screen, and we will get to those. And then during that Q&A part, I want to point out that we're going to serve those poll questions that we mentioned. And we would like everyone to take a minute and answer those. All of our attendees, are so important to hear your feedback, no matter where you are, that we capture that. And this is like a moment in time when you're thinking about it. And so we appreciate your response to that. So with that, Susan, I want to hand it to you, and please introduce our extraordinary group of entrepreneurs.
Thank you so much, Kate. And I just echo Kate's thanks for our previous three keynote speakers who joined us this morning. Your broader perspective on what's happening with financing and access to capital within Ukraine and within the larger region is such an important context setting, I think, for our discussion that we will be having with these three really incredibly impressive entrepreneurs from Ukraine. I will very, very briefly introduce them, and then I will ask each of them to actually introduce themselves quickly and talk about their businesses quickly. And then we will move on to a discussion of how financing has impacted their businesses, because as you will hear from them, each business has gained financing through some different models, and that financing has really impacted the way that each of their businesses has grown and shifted. And I apologize, I've recently gotten a cold, so my voice is a little bit froggy this morning, so apologies. It's that time of year. So without further ado, I would like to introduce, and apologies for my pronunciation. I am working on my Ukrainian, but it is still not good. So Dasha Kichuk, she is the CEO of EFfa. EFfa is an incredible business that makes sustainable toothbrushes and has grown globally, from what I understand. We'll let Dasha introduce her business in a moment. We also have Nechaieva, and she is the CEO of TK-Domashnyi Tekstil. And this is a really fascinating textile company that has transitioned her business and done really, really interesting work, again, with some financing. And then we have Olena Martynenko, the founder and director of FG Habenets, which is an agricultural business So we have three very, very different and diverse companies this morning, all who will be sharing their experience directly with financing as women entrepreneurs. So Dasha, so let's do this. So Dasha, if you'll please introduce yourself and your business, and then we'll move on to Anna and then to Olena, and then we will go back and start with our questions. So Dasha, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, ladies. It's lovely to meet you, and my warmest words, all of my warmest words go to the previous speakers. Kate, thank you so much, and it was lovely to meet you this summer in Slovenia. I'm sorry, I'm also a little bit sick. It's this time of the year. Also, since even if I'm calling from warmer Lisbon, I'm calling from Portugal. It is still winter, and it is still getting pretty cold, and I'm getting sick as well. So yeah, thanks for having me. I'm truly delighted to be in such a great company out there. I'm the CEO of EFFA. We are making eco-friendly disposable products, and we're making them out of paper, and we are selling them to hotels and airlines just to replace their plastic disposables. And as any other startup says, to make this world a little bit better. Yeah, we have grown the company. We have started this company together with my husband 5 years ago, and yeah, we have grown it from just an idea and the first prototype that was made in the in our flat with our hands, and we've grown it to the company that sells to Netflix, Delta Airlines, and JetBlue, and we have fundraised, lived in Silicon Valley for a while. So yeah, my journey is really interesting out there, and I would love to share this and inspire maybe someone in this call today.
Thank you so much, Dasha. I can't wait to dive in a little bit more about your adventures in Silicon Valley. So we'll get there. But first, I would like Anna to please take a moment to introduce herself and her business.
Hello for everyone. My name is Anna. I'm CEO of TK-Domashnyi Tekstil company, one of the biggest Ukrainian textile companies. We produce by ourselves fabrics. We have our own production of ready-made goods like home textile, clothing for children, newborns, adults. We're making different kind of shoes also, and we have a new production of knitted fabrics and knitted items. So our focus is not just on business, but also on social responsibility. One of our key initiatives is the seamstress school. It's very interesting and very good opportunity to have a new job for any woman who wants to have new skills and to have a possibility to earn money. So it provides essential skills training for individuals, particularly who are displaced right now in Ukraine. And as we look for the future, we are seeking like-minded partners who share our vision for expanding production and educational while reaching new markets. And now we believe that our product have global potential, and invite you to join us, to join some information about our company. And thank you for this possibility to speak with all of you.
Thank you so much, Anna. I'm excited to hear about how you have developed and expanded your company and about this training program that you have developed. This intersection of workforce development and financing obviously is really incredibly important. So we will come back to that after we have Olena have the opportunity to introduce her business and herself. So Olena.
Вітаю всіх. Дуже дякую за запрошення. Вибачте, я буду на українській мові. Приємно бути присутньою серед успішних жінок і послухати цікаві речі. Я працюю в сільському господарстві з 2004 року. Після закінчення аграрного університету допомагала батьку, який орендував землі на своїй батьківщині, де народився, і допомагала йому. А в 2004-му створила власне фермерське господарство, де ми працюємо разом з чоловіком. Але ми працюємо як один механізм, два підприємства, і в загальному обробляємо 2500 гектарів. Я допомагаю батьку в фінансових питаннях. Вирощуємо зернові та олійні культури, картоплю на чіпси. Маємо у 2015 році побудували власний елеватор на 12 тисяч тонн зерна. Надаємо послуги зі зберігання, очистки і сушіння зерна. Виготовляємо власні зерносушки та котли на альтернативному виді палива. Сьогодні буду рада поділитися своєю досвідом в отриманні кредитів і далі поговоримо. Рада всіх бачити.
Thank you so much, Olena. I think it's really fascinating. Well, I'm very fascinated to hear about the impact that these low interest loans had on your ability to transform and to be innovative with your, what we would think of, I think, as a very traditional business, and your ability to transform that business with additional low-cost financing. So actually, why don't we start there, since I have you here on screen? Why don't we start with your experience? And if you can tell us a little bit about how that low-cost financing, how you were able to apply for it, where was the financing, where did the financing come from? You know, kind of what was your experience with applying for that loan? And then how did that loan help you to transform and grow your business?
У нас було два досвіди. У 2022-му негативний від України ми отримали. Я пізніше, якщо захочете, розкажу. А у 2023 році за допомогою програми USAID «Інвестиції для стійкості бізнесу» та OTP банку наші два підприємства було прокредитовано на 5 мільйонів гривень. Тому що зерно дуже впало в ціні, і продавати його, щоб посіяти і закупити посівний матеріал, було дуже невигідно. І ми звернулись до OTP банку, ми побачили рекламу, що вони виграли грант і видавали кредит від американської програми. І це було дуже легко, так як нам не треба було оцінювати майно і заставляти його майно чи нерухомість. Ми це аграрною розпискою оформили буквально за місяць, мабуть. В першу чергу те, що засновники жінки були в одній в нас компанії на мамі і в іншій на мені, це було плюсом. Вони нам в першу чергу надали цей кредит. І тим самим в березні місяці нас прокредитували в грудні, а в березні місяці ми продали зерно вже на 30% дорожче, тому що пішов попит на нього. І тим самим створили підприємстві додану вартість, збільшили робочі місця, купивши на зекономлені гроші обладнання для переробки сої. І встановили у нас на підприємстві. І от такий був вдалий кейс. На сьогодні ми вже погасили кредит і були дуже вдячні цій програмі під 0,01%, так як у нас в Україні 13% дається під обігові кошти. Ми посіяли соняшник і працюємо далі.
That's a really amazing story, Olena. Thank you. I mean, the impact is very clear from this low interest loan. I mean, you mentioned employment, you mentioned the ability to have some savings to reinvest. Those are all such important impacts. You also mentioned that it was easier, or that you were not successful with applying for financing earlier. Could you just give me a little bit more understanding of the difference? So you mentioned collateral, you mentioned having to have assessments of the value of your farm. Can you just share a little bit more about the difficulty in achieving financing prior to this low interest loan?
У 2022 році в Україні стартувала програма на написання гранту, і ми написали грант на переробку соняшника на обладнання і отримали в листопаді місяці 5 мільйонів з половиною від держави. Але скористатися не змогли, нам дали рік, щоб ми їх освоїли, але там були такі умови, що ми не змогли їх виконати. Чому? Тому що коли ми писали грант, були одні ціни на обладнання, на метал, на все інше. А поки розглядалося, дуже довго розглядався банком, потім Міністерством економіки наш грант, ціни змінились, а вони поставили умови, здорожчання пішло, а вони поставили умови, це був один із факторів, що ми маємо по тим самим цінам, які прописали в бізнес-плані. Це ми викручувалися, ми ходили по кабінетам, шукали виходи, але нам не дозволяли по іншим цінам купити обладнання. І тому через рік ми просили ще відстрочки, думали, можливо, там якось по-іншому, але ми повернули ці кошти назад у державу. Через рік.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. That is, you just brought up so many important issues. Thank you so much for helping to explain, the difference between applying for that grant and then receiving that low interest loan. I think that gives us a really clear picture of some of the issues that we have to deal with, or that women entrepreneurs have to deal with when, accessing capital for our businesses. Thank you so much for that. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit, but we're going to go to another region that is maybe stereotypically known as a difficult place to raise money. So we're going to switch to Silicon Valley, and we're going to bring Dasha back into the conversation. Dasha, we would like to hear from you, your experience. I think you mentioned Silicon Valley when you introduced your business. We'd love to hear a little bit more about what that experience was like, but also maybe to pull back a little bit and understand what was happening in your business that led you to this point of wanting to reach out to venture capitalists. What was happening? What was that decision point within your business?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for these questions. So as I mentioned, we've started building EFFA around 5 years ago. Even I think it's already 6 years ago. And we were back then, we were still having our normal jobs and that day-to-day jobs. And we just were dreaming of what if it will happen? What if everything will work out? What if this company will actually be a rocket and fly to the sky? And it happened in some way. It started happening during the COVID. We've managed to fundraise our first angel investment check for a company, which was a miracle, because we were selling to hotels and airlines, which were closed. And I just had a baby like a couple of months ago before the COVID started. So everything seemed like a nightmare for a startup, but we have actually managed to get to our first acceleration program, which was Startup Wise Guys. It's a European acceleration program for startups. And then we've managed to find our angel investment, and we have raised $500,000 to build EFFA and just start building our company out there. And yeah, everything seemed like a miracle for us. So we had our money, we had our manufacturing, we had our first customers, and actually one of our biggest customers is Netflix has reached to us themselves. I haven't reached to them. So that was a true miracle. And we thought, oh my God, we're actually making everything happen. And this life actually brings us some great presence out there. And the team was growing. Everything seemed really, really great. And then the war started in Ukraine. The full invasion war started on February 24th, 2022. It was in the middle of a time when we were delivering our first batches of products to our clients in Europe and Ukraine, because our manufacturing was in China. So the batch of around 100,000 toothbrushes were stuck in the middle of the ocean and not delivered to Ukraine, and we had to care about our family, first of all, about our child, about our team. We had to pay our salaries and care about people out there. And we didn't know, we had zero idea what to do next. We didn't know like what's going to happen tomorrow in an hour. Like it was a true nightmare. Every niche Ukrainian went through this, and especially those who have their businesses. You have more things to care about other than your personal safety and your family's safety. You have to care about your business as well, because it's the other child of yours that you have to care about. And what happened out there is that we really needed another capital in order to fulfill those orders that we had. We needed another capital to get another orders, because a lot of customers that we had pre-war were canceled or postponed, because basically what they're saying is that we were under direct danger of death. That's why we cannot work with you anymore. So business is a tough place to be, and nobody will be nice to you anymore. And that's how I felt it. I'm like, okay, I have to fight once again, not just for me, but for my business as well. So we needed to look for capital. And that's what we actually did. We started looking for funding, and we've applied for Silicon Valley-based acceleration program and VC fund, 500 startups. They have renamed, right now they're 500 Global. And I have had my interviews and calls with them during the bombshelling in Ukraine. So it was during the night, it was morning in Silicon Valley, I was back in Kiev, and yeah, that was crazy things happened. And that's when I thought that human body can go through a lot of things, through tons of stress and through a lot of things. Even now, I'm not in Ukraine right now, but what do I see that people who go through hardest bombshelling that we get through for the for last 4 months, I think there was no night without drones or rocket shelling, and people wake up, go to work, do their normal job, they smile, and then they earn it. And that's what we're going through, and that's, I'm not an exception. That's how we did it, and we were accepted after, I think it was a couple of months, 3 or 4 months of interviews with 500 startups, and that's how we've managed to secure funding from them. It was a great thing for us as well. So we've managed to move to Silicon Valley and to try to fundraise and to build our company there. So we have managed to do some decent sales during our being in Silicon Valley. So we've signed up contract with Delta Airlines and JetBlue and a couple of hotels and distributors out there. Silicon Valley itself is a great place to be. It's a good place to fundraise. Susan, you've mentioned that it's a place where it's hard to fundraise, but I will not agree with you on that, because Ukraine is much harder right now to fundraise. Silicon Valley must be easier, but yeah, venture capital is going through hard times at the moment, and it's for everyone. If you are not an AI company, it's really hard to fundraise, because yeah, we are getting through some restructuring and rebirth of startup industry out there. So yeah, times are challenging, but when we understood that, we got concentrated on sales more than on raising capital and on being more sustainable as a company itself. And we understood that we have to refinance ourselves without external capital for now. And then when the times are better, and if we need it still, then we'll go for another round of fundraising. So that was our story in Silicon Valley. And then because of the cost of living in Silicon Valley is a thing. It's like, it's crazily expensive to live there. That's how we moved to Portugal, and now we're living there. I have a happiest baby on earth, and I always say that Portugal is my biggest therapy country out there. So my heart is getting healed, and yeah, we are still working on EFA and bringing this rocket to the sky. And for us, in a better place than Silicon Valley. For us, it didn't work, but I love this place. It's a great place to be. You learn a lot, and you get more and more professionals for every day. But for me, it didn't work as well.
Thank you so much for that, Dasha. I think that you touched on so many things that I think are common for any startup business, but then you add in another layer of being a female entrepreneur. Our hearts are always, I feel like our hearts are always divided with our families, and you're a new parent as well. And between our business children and our birth children. So you have really been birthing two businesses, and on top of that, going through this incredible difficulty, as you mentioned, of, you know, taking calls while you're in the middle of a war crisis. And the fact that you have, you know, you have continued to grow your business, and you have continued to grow your sales, and that you have also, you know, you are making adjustments and thinking about the financing for your business differently based on what's happening within your business, I think that's a really interesting lesson and story to tell. I think it's something that those of us who have raised money understand that it comes at different times and has different purposes. So thank you for sharing that story as well. And we're really happy for you that you're in Portugal and you are having a chance to pull back and focus on your health and also the health of your business. So thank you for sharing your story. We're going to move to a little bit of a different story. We're actually going to talk about talk with a woman who has successfully received a grant and gone through a grant application process that has really helped her to develop and new opportunities for her business. So this is Anna, again, with a textile business in Ukraine. Anna, if you could please join us. And I would love to hear a little bit more about how the experience of applying for this grant, and then how this grant has affected your ability to develop your business, create new opportunities, and what that was like for you.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to say that we make main three things, then the war starts. First of all, we understand that we need to find new opportunities for our company, because even the unknown seems to exist. Because stopping our production was not an option for us, and we had a responsibility to keep all our employees to get back in Ukraine. We all are now located and work in Ukraine. All of our employees come back because we have full of work. We guarantee that then they come back, they understand that they have work and they can earn money. So this is very important. And what did we do? First of all, we worked harder, so there is no another option. We work more than even 8 hours per day. We work without holidays, without weekends. We understand that we need to do more and more things. And we start to participate in more kind of tenders. For example, we exploring international markets, we're seeking out new clients. So then we start to do it. We understand that our products is very nice, they are competitive, but we can make something new products, and we can make even more production lines and more assortment. So we try to think in deeply, and we start to finding some grants. And that is why we right now we participate in them, and we win a lot of grants. One of these was for a new line of our products, for knitted products. So it's a program with USAID Keynotes. So after we win this grant and we start to working on it, we make more than 40 new jobs at our factory. So that is why it helps us to have new jobs, new people come to our factory, and we're making more and more goods. and it's really helpful for business because it's only one like sample which we have because we have another kind of samples we have grant for English version of our website. They really help us, and we win this grant with GIZ. And it helps us to go to the international markets, and nowadays every people in every country, they can go to our website to make a worldwide delivery of our products, and it helps to go in and to sell our products to export. Yeah, so it's the second point that we used, and the third one is, of course, it's banking institutions, because we understand that we need money, so that is why we go into different kind of banks for credits, and it's also helpful for us because if we're talking about tenders in which we are participating, like a big company, there are some not good for business conditions of payment, so we need to ship all the goods, and after we received the money, and this banking institution, they help us to buy raw materials, for example, to start production, and it's really helpful for us. So it's a short of our experience of our company.
Thank you so much for that, Anna. I think that, each of our panelists today has really shown how different forms of financing has helped them to grow their business. So, I'm hearing from you that grants have been incredibly important for your business. And from Olena, obviously, the low interest loan was profoundly impacted her business. And then Dasha, the experience of both raising money and then using that money to grow revenue has just been really impactful as well. I would like to ask each of you, how have digital resources enabled you to either increase your customer reach or other resources? So have you used digital tools for financing or to extend your business revenue? So just kind of what is that intersection of the digital marketplace and your business? And Anna, maybe we'll start with you, and then we can move to Olena and then to Dasha.
For our business, it's very important. We just from this year, we start to export our products. So it's a really good possibility to sell our products in different kind of marketplaces. And that is why we make English version of our website with different kind of currencies. You can choose it. And moreover, we have experience to have grants to go in, for example, to the exhibitions, trade missions for different countries to present our products and to sell them directly in this market. So we use it, and we think that it's for our future. So that is why we want to expand in it in the last New Year's.
Fantastic. Thank you. Let's move then to Olena. Olena, can you also respond to that question, please, regarding digital tools and your ability to grow your business?
В принципі, ми працюємо напряму з переробниками або з трейдерами. Коли були порти закриті, ми більше працювали в Україні, шукали переробників, але й самі возили на підприємство, коли в нас не було лінії, переробляли і експортували. Але, в принципі, якщо чесно, ми не користувалися ніякими площадками, тому що напряму спілкуємося з переробниками. Тому я не маю можливості поділитися з вами своїм досвідом.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for being clear about that. That helps us to better understand the role that digital tools are playing. So thank you. That was a great answer. And then can we shift to Dasha? quickly, please. And Dasha, I'd love to hear what digital tools you're either using to help grow your business or to access information or other financial resources.
Yeah, of course. I will be really different from other ladies because I'm from startup world, which is really digitalized, and like we all use all of those AI based and all of the digital tools that we can ever use. And that's actually the tool that can really accelerate your future growth in sales or your outreaches. So we use I'm a really, really good user at LinkedIn and all of the social media out there. We use all of the outreach tools out there. I've used them in both in order to outreach to VCs and like angel investors out there. You can use a lot of different databases, and LinkedIn, again, Twitter to make in contacts with journalists out there and to get some PR and media attention. Even as Anna said, you are visiting a lot of international trade shows and international events. That's first thing that you have to use before going to the event is you have to use your LinkedIn and Twitter in order to get ready for the conference and to make those valuable contacts. Because yeah, everybody likes offline, but we are living in online era right now. And right now it's AI online era, and we have to adjust and we have to use those tools as much as possible. And as for the online marketplaces, we have our own marketplace. We use the Stripe for that, and we use a lot of online tools in order to emphasize and to make our sales much easier. We are starting to use Amazon in Europe as our platform to sell our products out there as well, because they take care about a lot of things in your business that you don't want to care a lot about. So yeah, we use a lot of them. Like I said, I'm really different from other ladies from classic business out there. Startups are really different.
Absolutely. And thank you for highlighting that difference, Dasha. That's so true. We really appreciate that. I want to say thank you to each of our panelists, but before we close out, oh, actually, Yana has a question for us, and I would love to, yes, Yana, do you have a question for our panelists?
I just wanted maybe to add to our panelists, even though I'm not a businesswoman myself, but on behalf of several businesses that were founded by our veterans, I know that they highly appreciate the opportunity, to apply for grants or apply for assistance online. It also helps a lot for their spouses when a husband or a wife or a partner is serving. It's not that easy to communicate directly or to go together to get some advice or expertise. With the digital marketplaces and then this digital access to, well, mostly everything right now, it just it opens so many opportunities for people who are eager to start something new and who may be displaced, who may not be in Ukraine right now, but are planning to return, or who are establishing their businesses overseas but serve back to the Ukrainian communities. So I know several examples from our participants who use that digital space and as something that helps them a lot.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Yana. I think that one of the things that you highlighted is that importance of bringing together resources into central locations, like whether it's a marketplace where you're purchasing goods or you're gaining access to information about tools or resources. I think that that is something that's really important, especially maybe for people who have lost their network and their community that they have been part of, and they're displaced and they need those central resources to refer back to. I think that's an incredibly important observation. So thank you so much for that. I'm checking our time, and although I would love to ask our entrepreneurs about 25 more questions, because I think each of your experiences is so interesting and so useful to our conversation. We do have two more really fantastic speakers to move on to. But before we get there, I would like to ask our technical support to please launch the poll questions before we join our next or have our keynote speakers join us again for the end. We have them both in Ukrainian and in English. So please respond to these. They should just take you a couple of minutes. And while that is happening, if I could ask each of our panelists with just their very short response to tell our audience and to tell us if you could give one recommendation to Ukrainian policymakers or the Ukrainian business community from the financial perspective, what is one thing that would make it easier for you to access capital and grow your business? This is your opportunity to really speak directly to those who have the ability to make changes. So, Dasha, I'm going to go back to you and I realize I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but if you have some thoughts about, we all think about financing, right? We are all entrepreneurs. We are all running businesses. So I know we all think about this. So Dasha, if you had one piece of recommendation or a policy change that you'd love to see made, we would love to hear from you.
Yeah, of course. You're not putting me on the spot. I love talking about that. So I think like we've noticed like very important thing during this discussion is, first of all, that we need to be flexible, and please try not to be only concentrated on fundraising or getting grants. Or of course, it's an amazing tool to get there. It's an amazing tool to grow your business and to start from the first days when you have this amazing idea to start your business with. But on the other way, we really have to be flexible when we're talking about money and financializing our businesses. If things don't go well with your fundraising, you can always refer, and it's a better thing to actually refer to your sales, and you're growing substantially from your own products and your own sales out there. And yeah, you have to be really flexible in making your decisions. Sometimes people think, no, I want to raise only from American venture capital, like fancy firm, I don't know, Sequoia or Anderson Horowitz, and you don't want to talk about anybody else. But there are tons of opportunities in this world, and you have to think about each and every of them when you're evaluating your business and your future plans for your financing. That's a boring talk. But if I want to inspire someone and to talk about hard times of entrepreneurs that are going through right now, specifically that we're going through the war, which make things tons more challenging than it was before. First of all, of course, you have to be brave, and you have to keep fighting for your dreams, and you have to keep smiling, raising, working a hell off, because you want to bring this rocket to the sky and you want to bring this dream, and don't let anyone to take your dream away from you, whether it will be the war or another type of situation or lack of funding or something. Everything can be survived through, everything can be dealt with. So just keep strong, keep brave, and keep fighting for your dreams no matter what. That's what I always say to every another entrepreneur that I've met.
Thank you so much, Dasha. You've clearly lived that experience, so we really appreciate hearing that from you. Shifting to Anna. Anna, in 15 or 20 seconds, do you have one piece of advice or one recommendation for Ukrainian policymakers, government officials, on how financing for your business could be improved?
First of all, for all people and for all companies with women, it's do not give up, because it's really important to find more possibilities, to put some information about your company, to find these financial and different kind of programs, and to participate in them. And I think that there must be more programs to support women-led businesses, because it's very important nowadays. All men in the war, so that is why we need to make down our economic, and that is why it's really important to have support. Various types of initiatives and programs are needed very importantly for us. So I think it will be the one of the points.
Thank you so much, Anna. That refers back to our earlier speakers talking about the number of businesses that are being started by women right now in Ukraine in 2024. And it's clear that there will be a lot of demand for those types of programs. So thank you. Olena, very quickly, same question to you. What would be your top advice for Ukrainian policymakers to make access to financial capital easier for women entrepreneurs?
В першу чергу, я думаю, просто не заважати працювати, тому що у нас дуже великі податки, дуже податкова збирає зараз і бюджет поповнюють, і трошки важкувато. Але жінкам потрібно об'єднутись. Я зараз, наприклад, навчаюся, програма Талента, є така 5 років їй, 4-ту лекцію проходжу, де навчається 118 жінок з сільської місцевості і фермерок, які спілкуються між собою. І такі програми дуже важливі, тому що ми ділимося досвіду, там дуже багато переміщених осіб. І взагалі в нас є державний аграрний реєстр, де також дуже багато програм. Я неодноразово отримувала від USAID мінеральне добриво для нашої допомоги. І це дуже важливо для підтримки. Ну, я в свою чергу скажу, як аграрний бізнес, що є такі програми, потрібно слідкувати, бути в тренді, інформаційно постійно шукати щось нове, пробувати гранти писати і стукати в любі двері, і нам відкриють.
Thank you so much. I love that emphasis on staying connected, having a network, but understanding also where resources are and not giving up on applying for these resources. Thank you so much for that, Olena. Thank you to all of our panelists. Thank you to everyone who responded to the poll questions. I'm going to turn it back now to our moderator, Kate, and we will finish up with our 2 final keynote speakers. Thank you so much again for sharing your experience to all of our panelists.
Thank you, Susan, Dasha, Olena, and Anna. That was wonderful. I think that you, as Susan said, brought up some really amazing insights in terms of growing awareness of programs. And Olena, you hinted at some of the tax policies that we know for a fact when you have positive tax policy, incenting people to invest in women and in women's businesses, there's a significant change in the economic fortunes. And so that's something that we will also highlight and we will follow up with. So I appreciate all of you for sharing your experiences and motivating our other entrepreneurs that are on the call and that will hear this. So as Susan said, we want to move now to our final 2 keynote speakers that are amazing. And you're going to get a little bit different perspective from these women. And so I'm excited. I'm going to introduce Yulia Kristova first, a board member for the Mayor's Club of Ukraine and CEO of Ukrainian Multiple Economic Development Agency, UMED. UMED is a for-profit enterprise designed to facilitate all needs of international companies and play a critical role in the rebirth of the Ukrainian support for foreign direct investment into and starting with the smallest municipalities and a consortium of municipalities too. So I think you're going to get a little bit different perspective. So I'd like to please welcome Yulia.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this invitation. It is really honest to be here with you today and to bring my knowledge and experience from the ground, as I say usually. As you said, Kate, I'm leading of Mayor's Club of Ukraine. It's an old organization. It was created in 2005. But because of our team, 3 years ago, we started work with Mayor's Club as a new management team on the biggest gap, how we analyzed and decided to do the biggest gap. It was economic development of Ukraine. Why? I need to explain. Ukraine decades was a country of centralized Soviet Union and post-Soviet Union centralized economy. And then when market came, business was more flexible than government, especially than local government. We had a decentralization reform before the war during 7 years, and it's still not finalized. So we have some last level, but because of the war, a lot of processes again centralized. Why it is important to understand? Because on local level, historically, local government is not ready for these changes of the market. They never worked with businesses on local level. When we started to work with the Mayor's Club and members, by the way, it grew from 50 members to 644 now. Why? Because of this needs of support with international partner on economic development, on investment projects. And we understood that it is difficult for small municipalities to work on international level. And we started to create with them economic unions, which unites from 3 to 21 municipalities together. And then we present on international level already big units of municipalities with big packages of projects. And when we started work with them on local level and meet with them, so we visited our economic unions and spoke with mayors, representative of administrations and businesses, we understood that is also a big gap of cooperation. Business don't believe government, central government and local government, unfortunately. Maybe because of not so good support. It's one of problems, yes. And second one, they historically, as I said already, did everything themselves. So when we created these economic unions and started to create pipelines of projects, we communicated with businesses and with women also. About the structure, because of decentralization, we have local agencies of development who needs to support businesses. As in Netherlands, where I am now, they have a huge RDA, they call it RDA, Regional Development Agencies, with a big financial support. So this RDA, they invest themselves in startups, they invest themselves in businesses, Dutch businesses. Unfortunately, we don't have such as instruments, agencies, and a system in Ukraine on local level. Mayors take care about these issues themselves, how they feel, how they understand it. And as you know, all the people are different. They have different understanding what they need to do with businesses. Some of them, the good example for me, it's a mayor of Novovolynsk. It's also almost on the border with Poland. He just created one more office near his office in his building. And one employee her job is to support business on grants applications. So she just write grants from the morning to the evening. I know just one example or few, such as all over Ukraine, but this is a very productive way. When you don't create strategies, you know, Ukraine now create a new strategy. The name of this strategy of development is Plan Ukraine. Then this big plan will go to regional level and then to local level and then surprise. So we do the same mistakes as our members think, the same mistakes every 10 years. New strategy, and unfortunately not so many actions which we need, which our members and businesses needs. If we talk about financial instruments, Yes, we have grants. We have a lot of organizations, international organizations who helps now municipalities and businesses, such as USAID, GIZ, etc. And they have their own structure of people, team, who provide all this support. It's really great. But unfortunately, they changed the understanding of our members of what is investment project. When we started to work with investors, we thought it's very simple to collect projects, then to show these projects to investor and involve money. Perfect plan, but unfortunately that projects which mayors think are investment projects, they wasn't like this. It's non-refundable investments. They call it like this, USAID, GIZ, etc. It's in fact it's donations, but all over the world, investors would like to bring money back. So they need to understand how to come to Ukraine. But the biggest issue from them, how to exit from Ukraine with this money, with some profit, because money need to work and the investor need to understand that he will have a profit. So we started to work with our members on this kind of projects, refundable classical investment projects. And this is impossible without businesses. That's why we are very close to this topic. And when we talk about women, by the way, Olena, today our two speakers, and Anna, they shy to say that they were our members of delegation to United States. So when we started to create pipeline of projects, we started to show all these opportunities, and Ukraine is opportunity to our international partners. And Anna, Olena, as representatives of businesses, they go themselves abroad to attract investors to their businesses and their projects. And this is wonderful, but it's only two ladies. And as we saw, for example, few days ago, I saw LinkedIn post from our Ministry of Economy, Yulia Sviridenko, about program Create. It was a wonderful program to support women entrepreneurship and leadership. And she said she is proud that 1,000 participants was on this program. But 1,000 women, it's not a big amount, as I think. We have millions women, and they are all potential entrepreneurship or they are now entrepreneurship. And from this program, they had 65 laureates. 52% of them are from big cities and only 9 from local small cities and villages. Why? Because we don't have 10 cities in Ukraine, Kyiv, Kharkiv, Odessa, and Lviv, and some few big cities. We have 465 cities. And if we talk about municipalities, it's almost 1,500. And you never heard about them because they don't have capacity, experience, and budget costs, as have Lviv, for example, wonderful city with a great program of support, SMEs, etc., because they have budget for this. They can give million to some entrepreneur to open business and to create this business in Lviv. Other city, small city and village doesn't have million to give it to develop this business. So as for me, we need to find other maybe other instruments, and we already do it. On our All Ukrainian Summit of Mayors on 8th of November, we had a big panel of private-public partnership. I think it's one of the best instruments which can help businesses and municipalities and the central government to push our economy. And now we have a new law with new rules. I hope it will be finalized. Now it's on the check-in on European Union. It's special processing now. And after that, we have more flexible and more quickly process for this. And I hope it will help us with development. So we can attract more financing to Ukraine on partnerships. with international investors. So if I can talk about hours, about these hours, if to be briefly, yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Yulia. I appreciate that. And I think really salient is your points around women in rural situations. And, you know, we tend to focus on the low-hanging fruit, if you will, with our programs and our building awareness in the cities. And as we go outside the cities, and I think Olena and Anna have each demonstrated that and referred to that, but, you know, when we think about the programs for IFC and the ones that Barbara talked about, those we could build awareness and build some usership and sort of think about some of our recommendations in expanding into rural areas because there is so much opportunity. And as you say, 1,000 sounds like a lot, but when you start to expand that and you look at the total population of women business owners and entrepreneurs both in Ukraine and displaced, that seems so small. And so appreciate that. And I think that that's really important for us to focus on. So thank you so much for your time and that perspective. So now I want to move to the last speaker of this conference. And we are very honored to have Svetlana Kopelinsky. So again, please apologize for our Ukrainian accent and pronunciation. Svetlana is a director of the Project of Educational Center for Innovation and Development Investment and the Agents of Change Project. She holds a PhD in economics and is an associate professor at the Department of Finance for Vlaska Slovenska Prekapit. I'm gonna mess it up so badly. PNU University. How about that? So, Svetlana, thank you so much for being here.
So good. Thank you so much. Thank you again for the invitation, for all the Kate, Agnes, and Justina. It is a great honor to be a part of such important events for the development of women and entrepreneurship. And I would like to emphasize that I'm not only a scientist at Vasil Stefanik Prekapetyan National University. I'm also I practice in business, in consulting business, project and cluster management, and that is why I'm here, I suppose. And just a moment, I'm share my screen and try to summarize some information about ongoing topic for innovations in financial services. Innovation in financial services, as we understood, play a key role in supporting the women entrepreneurs, especially in the transition to a digital economy. According to a World Bank report, access to finance is one of the most significant challenges for entrepreneurs, and women face these problems more than men. Only about 10% of female entrepreneurs in Ukraine have easy access to bank loans, compared to 20% of male entrepreneurs. I would like to summarize some information as previous speakers have mentioned. The most common sources of funding and opportunities, and can be said to have been known before the war, include grant programs from the Ukrainian Women's Fund, USAID, and the SME Development Program, EBRD's Women in Business Program, and microcredit and concessional financing from Public Bank of Ukraine, Ощадbank, private bank, and the International Finance Corporation, and also global microfinance organization such as Kiva and Rockefeller Foundation. I skip this file because this slide because I share this presentation to all, and move on to the next slide. Next, I would like to focus on innovations in financial services. The key importance of financial services innovation are expanding access to finance, innovative financial products such as microcredit, crowdfunding, and digital payment system greatly facilitate access to capital for women who often face difficulties in obtaining financing due to lack of collateral or credit history. Crowdfunding platforms, for example, allow women startup founders to raise funds without having to go through traditional banking procedures. The next point is reducing the digital divide. In the digital economy, access to online banking and mobile applications, for example, Monobank, Private24, allows women to manage their finance quickly and efficiently, even in remote regions, as have been mentioned recently. Statistics shows that 50% of women entrepreneurs in Ukraine actively use digital platforms to do business, which is an important factor in the competitiveness. The third point is strengthening economic independence. Innovative solutions such as blockchain and financial technologies, fintech, promote transparency and security of transition, which reduces the risk of fraud. This is especially important for women who want to run their businesses in a secure environment. The fourth point is support the development of startups and small businesses. There are already examples of successful women in Ukraine who have been able to create and develop their own businesses through financial innovation. For example, startups founded by women are often supported through microfinance programs or grants created especially for women. And the fifth point is promotion, inclusion and equality. The use of financial innovation makes it possible to overcome gender barriers and increase the number of women involved in business. This is an important element of in promotion gender equality. To discuss this in more detail, I will first outline the ongoing innovations in the financial services that already exist in Ukraine. The first digital platform for financial inclusion, the second online lending and crowdfunding, and the third one is digital, sorry, I get a call to and digital currencies and blockchain. Maybe I want show all presentation in details because I share this presentation with organizers, and this presentation will be shared to participants, I suppose. And I only do some accents in some other points, such as the points, the following 3 slides demonstrate the opportunities for further innovation development, such as mentoring and consulting platform, financing for sustainable development, and also flexible financial solutions. I only show this slides in short terms because I suppose our time is over, and that is why I try to reduce my presentation. And the third part of my presentation is about an equally important issue for the development of innovation, is the emphasis on barriers to innovation in financial services for women entrepreneurs, such as complex regulation and access restrictions. The second, lack of awareness and access to digital, just a moment, lack of awareness and access to digital skills, and financial barriers and a lack of investment. These points are important to us, and we try to come up with this problem during our entrepreneurial activities. Then I also try to summarize the importance of innovation in financial services. Innovation in financial services are opening up new opportunities for women entrepreneurs in Ukraine, providing them with access to capital that was previously limited due to strict regulatory requirements, a lack of information, or discriminatory practices. The use of digital platforms, microfinance, crowdfunding, blockchain, and other innovative solutions allows women to create and grow businesses in different regions, even in remote and war affected areas. The second point is the need for education initiatives. Insufficient digital literacy and awareness of available financial products remain significant barriers. Educational programs such as the government's Гаразд in Ukraine initiative or private projects should be key elements of support for women. Financial literacy programs should include training in the use of online financial platforms, crowdfunding, and other digital tools. The recommendation to further improve innovation in financial services in Ukraine are the following steps are recommended: creating an innovative financial environment, enhancing digital infrastructure, developing financial products for vulnerable groups, and also developing financial product, improving the regulatory framework and integration with the international programs. This points, I suppose, is key and in our discussion, and I hope our government take into account them, and we maybe our success to capital to different digital tools will be easier than at this moment. And at the end of presentation, I would like to mention that my region, Ivano-Frankivsk region, Prakarpattia region in Ukraine, is not so attacked as other region. In our region is a little bit calm, and we try to provide different women's entrepreneur support, and we provide different business forums, as you can see at the slide. And also I would like to mention that emphasize export assistance to women entrepreneurship recent in last years, and hold business forums that are platforms for communication and establishing partnerships. And just one point, I'm also use in my consulting, in my training, digital tools to attract grants and other support, and the center where I work, Agents of Changes, help our communities, our internal displaced people, including women entrepreneurs, to attract grants and to use artificial intelligence in this activity. That all that I try to reduce in my presentation.
Svetlana, thank you so much. I think there was some really important information there in terms of non-traditional financing, some alternatives to banks in terms of crowdfunding, new digital tools and blockchain, and some of the broader view of this. And I think that that's a really key piece that we want to add. And thank you for the recommendations that you've given, because I think, you know, the skills gap in terms of financial literacy and digital literacy is something that we're seeing all over the world with women. And there are really concerted efforts that we want to put forward to erase that skills gap and that lack of understanding and those perceived barriers to getting engaged in the digital economy. And that's one of the things that we're trying. So thank you so much. And I want to really thank all of our presenters today and our audience for being here. We have really enjoyed bringing this conference to you, because I think that the capital to finance some of those things, those skills gaps, that information, that building awareness is a really key piece to innovation and for women to develop their businesses and contribute economically, both to their families and their communities and their countries. And so I really appreciate that. So with that, I want to just again thank everyone for being here today, and I want to invite you please to join us on December 17th. It is the last in our content gathering series of of conferences, and we will be talking very specifically about the barriers in operations and infrastructure, logistics and supply chain that women businesses in Ukraine are facing today. And so we want to invite you back for that. And I would also say that we are delivering our summation and final recommendations from all of our conferences in the new year on January 14th, and we will be notifying you of all of that. And so we will keep in touch with you. And I really, again, the information that you have provided and the perspective that we have heard from basically across the world today has been inspiring and wonderful. And I really appreciate you being here and sharing your time and your expertise with us. So thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you in a few weeks for our last conference. Thank you so much.